Our group is presenting on same-sex marriage and the battle for legality in the United States. We chose this because we support the expansion of rights for LGBT Americans, and studying LGBT history is important. LGBT history is often ignored and overlooked in classrooms across America. Some state governments even attempt to prevent teachers from talking about sexuality and gender identity whatsoever. Even by more conservative estimates, several million Americans are LGBT. By ignoring the historic struggles of this marginalized group, educators are also ignoring the modern-day issues and complications that plague the LGBT community. Gays and lesbians are currently legally discriminated against in education, hiring, housing, and access to public accommodations. Our group is choosing to look at and understand the struggle for same-sex marriage as one facet of the various intersecting civil rights issues the LGBT community faced and is still facing.
Good morning, ladies and gays. We're here with an extremely important announcement on the behalf of the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division.
With the recent events that have taken place, things have changed. We're in a new era, folks. Yes, one where gays can marry alongside straights. Except for these places. Thanks to the 2015 Supreme Court ruling in Obergefell v. Hodges, and that legalized gay marriage at the federal level.
You may have noticed a recent influx of gay people in your neighborhoods. They are propagating in our towns and cities. They are marrying each other in our churches and casinos, flying the pride flags at every waking moment, pushing the gay agenda and spreading the hashtag 20GayTeen. But do not fear.
We understand that these are trying times for heterosexuals, so as your government officials, we wanted you all to know that we're here to help. That is why we have brought to you today a simple 5-step tutorial to aid this transition into an era of rampant homosexuality, so that you treat your gay newlywed neighbors with the respect they deserve.
We're going to be going over our easy 5-step guide. Conveniently, there's a mnemonic device that will assist you in properly interacting with your new gay neighbors. Just remember the acronym Pence. P. Identifying gay couples. E. Educating yourself. N. Checking yourself. C. Approaching the gay. E. Achieving ally status.
We're now going to be going over our first step, identifying gay couples. This is a not at all offensive, surefire tactic to locate surrounding gays. Now, before you can approach your newlywed gay neighbors, you first must be able to correctly identify that they are in fact gay and not just two gal pals.
I've studied the gays for decades. I've lived among them, immersing myself in their language, their culture. Gays have been around for a long time, at least since 1975. Marriage between gay individuals has become more and more accepted into mainstream society. And there have been many high-profile wedded gay couples since the 2015 federal ruling. We've got Ellen and Portia, Neil Patrick Harris and husband, them, Anderson Cooper and Benjamin Mice. No, they are no longer together.
Now, we're going to move on to step 2. Educating yourself. In order to not be a bigot, it's important to learn how gay marriage was legalized federally in the first place, in Obergefell v. Hodges.
Let's take a walk. Some people trace the beginnings of the battle for same-sex marriage legalization to the victory in 1967 in Loving v. Virginia, where the Supreme Court of the United States legalized interracial marriage. This case is important because it guaranteed marriage as a fundamental right. In 1971, Michael McConnell and Jack Baker wanted to get married. Baker decided to become a lawyer so they could figure out how to do so legally. They lived in Minnesota at the time, and nothing in the Minnesota marriage statute mentioned anything about gender or that same-sex couples could not get married. McConnell and Baker were denied a marriage license and appealed to the Supreme Court, but were dismissed for failure to propose a federal question. From this case forward, in the span of 43 years, the notion of same-sex marriage went from ridiculous to constitutionally mandated. Yes, understanding the shift in national consciousness is key to understanding the ultimate victory that took place for champions of marriage equality. In 2015, support for marriage between homosexuals measured at 60%, and it was just 27% when Gallup first asked the question in 1996. Several smaller judicial battles also paved the road for marriage equality. In 2000, in the case of Baker versus State of Vermont, civil unions were first legalized. Gay rights activists also pushed to find anti-sodomy laws unconstitutional. Texas was one of these states to do so. This was important because sodomy laws were frequently used by state legislators to prevent legislation being put in place to protect LGBT people or any pushes for marriage equality. Finally, in 2003, with Goodridge versus Massachusetts Department of Public Health, Massachusetts became the first state to legalize gay marriage permanently. Hawaii had done so previously in 1993, although it quickly got overturned by a state legislator in 1998 with massive popular support. However, these victories were not without backlash from conservative groups and politicians. In 1986, Bowers v. Hardwick stated that states could ban homosexual relations. And in 1996, a Congressional Defense of Marriage Act legislated that states could disregard marriages even if they were legal elsewhere in the United States. Then President Bill Clinton signed this congressional DOMA. Many states also passed their own DOMAs or rewrote their state constitutions to explicitly ban same-sex marriage. Understanding the history of the struggle for marriage equality is 100% necessary to good allyship and approaching your gay neighbors in the correct way.
Now on to step 3. Checking yourself. If you thought the legal oppression of gays was bad, wait until you see how straights are discriminated against in our increasingly anti-hetero world. I've been straight for about 5 years now, and let me tell you, it is not as easy as it looks. Now that gay marriage has been federally legalized, and states must recognize gay marriage licenses from other states, the gays are becoming much more open with their displays of affection. Frankly, it's grossly offensive and extremely heterophobic. Once, I saw 2 individuals of the homosexual persuasion participating in the ritual exchange of saliva outside of this very Arby's. I felt as if they were literally forcing me to have gay thoughts. It really makes you think about the full faith and credit clause of the United States Constitution. If I can't eat my beef and cheddar without a couple of gays taking full advantage of their civil rights in front of me, I don't want to live in Wisconsin anymore. It hasn't been easy, but thank you for letting me share my experience. This message has been brought to you by Arby's.
Now on to step 4, approaching the gays. To make the gays feel more comfortable in your presence, be sure to always wear at least one accessory of rainbow hue. It has been scientifically proven that gays' heart rates slow down to a resting rate when in contact with rainbow material. Your tone must be light, joking, and amiable. Don't be afraid to show off your newfound gay lingo as well.
Hey, fellow gays! What's the tea? Wig snatched? Yeah? Yeah? Good.
Good job, hetero. That was a solid attempt.
We finally arrived at our final step, the achieving ally status.
We have specific ideas for how state and federal governments should move forward on this topic and how the government can be a better ally. Our proposal recommends that the Supreme Court leave the current precedent in place and not at any point overturn Obergefell v. Hodges. We also recommend that the federal government expand legislation to further protect LGBT people. Federal protections are important as they prevent regressive state legislators from harming the LGBT citizens. Since the Supreme Court's landmark ruling, it's clear that although conditions have improved markedly for LGBT people, they are far from perfect. Our FRA, for example, basically legalized discrimination in 2015 in our home state of Indiana. Our current Vice President, Mike Pence, believes in funding conversion therapy. Suicide and murder rates for transgender Americans are some of the highest in the country. We believe in using compassion and empathy in our policymaking going forward. We want both state and federal governments to listen to the needs of LGBT people and actively work to improve the lives of people from marginalized communities.
We encourage you all to use compassion and empathy in your interactions with all people, especially your newlywed gay neighbors.
This concludes the public service announcement. Your local government agents will now walk you through some exercises and test your knowledge from this video to receive your license in gay interactions.
And remember, we are Homo sapiens, not Hetero sapiens.